This is E&P Reports, a vodcast from Editor and Publisher Magazine, the authoritative voice of news media since 1884, serving newspapers, broadcast, digital, and all forms of news publishing.
And greetings once again, Mike Linder, publisher of E&P Magazine. As always, we urge those listening on a podcast platform to follow, those watching on YouTube. There is a subscribe interface below. If you do either of those things, follow or subscribe, you will get an update each and every time we upload this weekly vodcast series dedicated to the news publishing industry we call E&P Reports. Morgan Baum, Director of Local News Sustainability at RFA, Report for America. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me.
My honor. We have a new tradition here on the program, which some think is odd, but I love doing it because every other story we do at E&P now has something to do with AI. And actually, 2 guests ago, I actually interviewed ChatGPT on this very program. So I asked her, I gave her a gender when I interviewed her, so now she's a her. I asked her about you. So I'm now going to tell you, rather than me reading your LinkedIn profile and boring people to death, I'm going to tell you what ChatGPT says about Morgan Baum, and then you can rate her from A to F, whether she has you accurately or not. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You're Director of Local News Sustainability at RFA, part of the Ground Truth Project. You play a critical role in helping newsrooms develop sustainable revenue streams, particularly through local philanthropic support. You hold a master's degree in fundraising management from Columbia University and have extensive experience in public policy and media advocacy. Beginning your career with the Center for Public Integrity, you are passionate, he says, about using your experience to ensure that long-term sustainability of journalism is there. Do you agree with that?
Wow, I'd give her a solid A.
There you go. You were stalked by ChatGPT. And today's topic will concern a project that you are kind of championing. You know, we all know that Report for America supported nearly 400 newsrooms, helping them collectively raise $30 million from their communities to become more sustainable. However, you now have a new project that you're launching, a new pilot project, the Accelerator Program. And correct me if I'm wrong, you're going to be helping local newsrooms, either if they're profit or nonprofit, receive coaching and training, and possibly even fiscal sponsorship to help generate more philanthropic dollars. Do I have that right?
You have it correct, yes.
We're going to unpack all of that on the backside of this message.
This episode of E&P Reports is exclusively sponsored by Blocks Digital, formerly Town News. Even though the name has changed, their commitment to the media industry is as strong as ever. Blocks Digital is now even better positioned to deliver integrated solutions like content management, audience development, advertising revenue, video management, and more. Join the over 2,000 news publishers worldwide that power their ongoing digital transformation with Blocks Digital, serving over 141 million monthly users who view over 6.5 billion pages of content each year. You can trust Blocks Digital to empower you, to connect you at scale with the community you need to reach. Blocks Digital, formerly Town News, now reimagined to help meet the news publishing challenges of tomorrow and beyond. Learn more at blocksdigital.com.
Okay, Morgan, can you provide some more details on what you're going to be doing? What is this Accelerator Program all about?
Yeah, well, let's start backwards a little bit.
Okay.
You know, when I first joined Report for America, I was so excited because there were more than 150 newsrooms that as a fundraiser were going to be, in my portfolio of newsrooms I was going to support, helping them do grant writing, individual major donor asks, campaigns to large quantities of donors. And we were going to go into every single newsroom and help them individually. And it was great. But I started to realize that there are a handful of newsrooms that never even raised their hand to apply for Report for America because they're not ready yet. And so I took a little bit of time to analyze those newsrooms and think, how could we best help serve them so that at some point down the line, they'll be ready to raise their hand and say, I want a core member too. I'm ready for it.
What criteria? Okay, there's 25 in this pilot program. We got our fingers crossed that this will just be the beginning of possibly helping all newsrooms, shapes and stripes, get into this a massive amount of dollars that are now available in the philanthropic world. What is your criteria for selecting the 25? I mean, how will they be rated in order to join this program?
Well, I think that's a great question. So far, we opened it up just recently, and we have a info session coming up on the 22nd. I just checked. There are more than 30 newsrooms who have RSVP'd to come to the info session, and we've already had 3 newsrooms apply for the program. So when it comes down to rating the first 25, we are thinking about making sure, in order to learn the most from a pilot, you need to have a variety of different sizes, locations, historic backgrounds, mediums for their, how they make the news, as well as communities that they serve. So I have a little, you can't see it behind me, but I have a little poster board of the whole United States. And my goal is that the Accelerator program reaches from coast to coast, from top to bottom, and make sure that we have a really good group to analyze at the end of this first year.
I just got charged up at the LMA in Chicago. I attended Local Media Association's conference, and one of the panels was on the dollars that are available for, in the philanthropic world. But I was amazed at how there's local money as well. Will you be focusing on all aspects of how you tap into these, not just the big, night, plans and all that, but also helping you find local donors as well?
Absolutely. One of the things that I look at the most is, and I want to make sure you know this too, we've used the word philanthropy a few times here. We help some of our newsrooms do non-philanthropic revenue raising and on top of philanthropy. So when I go in and look at a newsroom, and when I look at their finances, I look at the whole possibility of all the different diverse revenue streams that they can go after. So when it comes to local funding dollars, community funding dollars, local nonprofits, there's a lot of community foundations that we can take and get to know them better and convince them to partner up with their local media in order to tell their community's story. But also, what other business revenue is there? And then one of the untapped areas that I see is local government dollars. And so, newsrooms are small businesses, and there's a lot of community funding for small businesses and economic development across America. And so we look at every single possible revenue stream they can tap into.
Let's assume someone attends your workshop or on the 22nd, decides they're going to apply. What will this be like? Will it be 3 years while they're being trained? I mean, are they going to go through some quick down and dirty training? What do you envision this pilot program will be for a small newsroom?
Yeah, so it's very similar to what we already do for our host newsrooms where our core members in there. So the first thing we do, it's my favorite time of the week. We work one-on-one with a newsroom, and we assess their financial needs. We do take, when a newsroom applies for this new Accelerator program, we take a snapshot of their finances so that we can make sure that we know where they're starting, where they will be partway, and what we're all working towards. I ask every newsroom, they're starting to get to know me. I ask them the same question when we start, which is, what is your goal? And I have them really lay out, if you felt like you were sustainable, what does that look like? And some of these guys are so busy trying to keep their lights on and their people paid that, they're living paycheck to paycheck as a small business. And the idea that they can think about what the future would look like, when they were sustainable, they're not necessarily always ready for that, but we start to have that conversation. And then we ask them, we ask them about their community size. We ask about who are the other organizations in town that tend to have a lot of community support, and we take a look at those organizations and see how can we learn from those, like, say the library is really funded, or the local hospital is really funded, or there's a small museum in town. So we take a look at those other organizations and see how can that help. How can we take, like, the learnings from that and apply it to the newsroom's funding structure as well? And then what we do is we make a bunch of different unique, just for the newsroom, documents so that they can use it to write letters to their, to their potential donors. And then we also will call the local foundation first and make an introduction to the newsroom for them. So every single one of the interactions is unique to the newsroom, and it's different every time. So, this job is not for the faint of heart. You have to be a puzzle lover, a problem solver, and you have to be like a really good listener to find out what they need so that you can go out and look for their solutions. And no, we're not doing a 3-month project. This is they get in the accelerator program and they stay in the accelerator program at this point until they feel like they're ready to raise their hand and say, I want to apply for a core member. That's when I know we'll have been successful.
Now, we already date stamped this program. Your episode, I think, 257. So we've been, and some people are listening to episodes 2 years old. So I want to say we date stamped this program to having this, join our workshop to learn how to apply on Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024. At the time of the recording, I want to tell our audience, we are now in a very polarized election cycle for the 2024 election. And that brings up this question I want to ask you. Right now, all the research shows a lack in trust of journalism. We believe at EMP that is mostly because of the big, brands, MSNBC, Fox News, what have you, and in this election stuff. Our hope is that after this is over, the local news that is so important to every community will regain some of that momentum and trust. Do you see this program helping also reinstill trust? Will that be a factor as you're asking or teaching these newsrooms how to tap into this money? Is that part of the coaching process? Is this a relevant question that these face?
It's a perfect question. I would caution us and pause and say that I think that the polarization we're experiencing in this country is not going to just disappear on November 7th, 2024. But I do believe that local media can be a part of the solution to bringing communities back together. I often talk to our newsrooms about the importance of community health. And when I think about that, it's like, what does community health look like for your region? And, is it more people participating in local government? Is it more folks feeling like they're informed about some of the decisions that are being made at City Hall or in their school board? Is it knowing what new businesses are coming into your community for economic development? And I try and look at the whole picture of why funding local news is important, because it lifts up all of those other areas. So if you care about education, you should care about local news telling the education story. If you care about housing, you should care about local news telling the housing story. And when we talk about a more informed community, I mean, that's like those commercials when I was a little kid, the more you know, the more you are connected to your community. And that will help break down some of the polarization. My paper in my hometown wasn't red or blue. It was the story of our community. And I think that that's part of why, if my community is asked to fund it, they will step up and help. And we just have to replicate that across the country.
All right, bring it all home. You got your audience here. The program is about to begin, this pilot program. Do your final elevator pitch. Talk to those newsrooms now. Tell them what they need to do in order to apply for this.
Yes. Well, let me just say, it sounds too good to be true. I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
And I would tell you that I have 154 newsrooms that I'm working with right now. We're providing them a ton of revenue generation and philanthropy support. Some of those newsrooms are ready to step up and tell you how, even though it sounds too good to be true, it's not. We are there individually helping your newsroom succeed. So the first thing to do is apply. If you're thinking about, if you have questions, you can come to the info session on October 22nd. And then you mentioned it at the beginning. We don't discriminate for-profit or nonprofit newsrooms. And one of the things that Report for America offers is fiscal sponsorship. And we currently offer it at 0%. in case your eyes light up a little bit, you've never probably heard of a 0% fiscal sponsor, but we do. We help make sure that every dollar that our newsrooms raise goes back into the newsrooms. And so we're fiscally sponsoring 43 newsrooms right now. And so if you're a for-profit, a nonprofit, if you've always wanted a core member but just thought, oh, I'm not going to get one, I shouldn't apply because we're just not ready yet, or they're going to think we're too small, then this is the program for you. This is the program to join and have individual support so that someday you're ready to raise your hand and say, I want to be a newsroom that hosts a Report for America core member. So the deadline is November 17th, but we are reviewing the applications on a rolling basis, so I can start filling up my map with all the pins of where we're going to be putting newsrooms. And we're just really excited to be supporting newsrooms before, during, and after the Report for America program.
Well, those that trip over this vodcast on our landing page will obviously get a link to the process to apply. Those that are listening on a podcast platform like Spotify or Apple or what have you, just go to Report for America's website. Am I right? And it's just right there.
Right on the front page. Click the button.
There you go. Morgan Baum, Director of Local News Sustainability at RFA. We appreciate your valuable time. I know it sounds like it's too good to be true. We can feel your energy. So it is true.
It's true.
Tap into this. It's there and it's being provided. And thank you so much for your valuable time.
Thank you.